I won $52 million in the lottery about 3 months ago. Nobody in my family knows. And believe it or not, when I asked to borrow $5,000, only one person showed up. That whole family's there for you no matter what thing? It's a lie. I used to hear it all the time, and I actually believed it. Seemed like the Caldwell family motto. But when I really needed them, all I got were closed doors. Or a flat-out no. Always the same pathetic excuses. My brother said, "Can't do it right now. My wife's having a baby. We're stretched thin." But I helped him pay $12,000 to the bank when he was drowning in payments for that stupid boat. $12 grand that he never paid back. Didn't even talk about paying back. My sister, the one I covered 3 months of back rent for when she was waiting for a promotion, said she was broke because she'd just remodeled her kitchen. $8,000 I gave her. Gone. Disappeared. Didn't even get a decent thank you. And my parents. My own parents in Broken Arrow. I bailed them out with $15,000 for an urgent medical emergency. Found out later the money went to remodel their kitchen, too. Apparently, everyone's remodeling kitchens except me. And when I called asking for $5,000, my dad told me I needed to learn to stand on my own 2 feet. Stand on my own. Me, the one who always helped. The one who always showed up. The one with a steady job as a store manager at the Tulsa Mall. The one who never missed a birthday, a Christmas, a graduation. The one who lent this family $31,000 and never saw a penny come back. So when I bought that lottery ticket at Quick Trip, Pump 3, after work on July 9th, and saw all 6 numbers match, I didn't scream, didn't jump, didn't take a photo to post. I got in my car, drove home, and called a lawyer. Because right then and there, I had an idea. I was going to find out who really cared, who loved me for me, and who just saw me as a walking ATM, took 3 weeks to set up the trust, claim the prize anonymously, and structure everything properly. The lawyer warned me, don't tell anyone yet. Wait, think it through. Because money changes people, and I didn't know the half of what he meant. Then I came up with the test. Simple, cruel, necessary. I'd pretend I lost my job at the store, that I was desperate, couldn't afford rent, and I'd ask to borrow $5,000. $5 grand. Less than I'd already given each of them seemed fair. Seemed like the only way to know the truth. Who'd show up when I had nothing to offer? When I was the one who needed help? And look, sitting here now in my apartment near Cherry Street, staring at the bank statement showing $52,800,000, I wonder if I went too far. If this test was worth the pain I felt. Because the answer I got? It broke me in a way no amount of money can fix. The only person who offered to help was my Aunt Diane, elementary school teacher in Stillwater. Driving a 2008 Honda with over 300,000 miles on it, she offered me $2,000 she didn't have, and said she'd take out a loan for the rest. Her. The person who could least afford it was the only one who wanted to help me. If you've ever been someone's second choice when you always put them first, subscribe to this channel and tell me where you're listening from. Because I learned the hard way that sometimes the family you choose is worth more than the family you're born into. So 2 weeks ago, I started making the calls, and every single one of them showed me exactly who these people really are. Let me tell you how I became the family ATM. Because it didn't start overnight. It was gradual. One favor here, one emergency there, until I couldn't remember a time when I wasn't the one everyone called. My brother Tyler lives in Norman with his wife Hannah. 2 kids, nice house, boat parked in the driveway. That boat? I helped finance $12,000 of it 5 years ago when he called me panicking about late bank payments. They're gonna repossess it, Harper, please. Just this once. I'll pay you back in 3 months, I swear. Never saw a penny. But I saw plenty of Instagram photos of him fishing on weekends. My sister Melissa and Edmund called me 2 years ago, voice shaking, saying she was 3 months behind on rent and about to get evicted. Her landlord had filed papers. She was waiting for a promotion at work that would fix everything. $8,000 I transferred that night. The promotion came through. The rent money vanished. But she did get that kitchen remodel she'd been wanting. granite countertops, stainless appliances, the works. My parents, Robert and Linda, retired in Broken Arrow. Last year, Dad called from a hospital lobby at midnight. Emergency surgery, honey. We don't have coverage for it. $15,000. I know it's a lot, but it's your mother's life. I had the money wired by sunrise. 3 months later, I visited. Hospital bills on the counter? Paid by Medicare. Kitchen, though? Completely redone. New cabinets, new floor. When I asked about it, Dad just said they'd gotten a good deal. $31,000 total. Gone. And every single time I tried to bring it up, tried to ask when they might start paying me back, I got the same responses. You make good money managing that store. We're family. We don't keep score. I thought you wanted to help. You've always been the responsible one. You can handle it. The responsible one. That's what I was. The one with the steady paycheck. The boring job. The predictable life. While everyone else got to be spontaneous, got to take risks, I was supposed to be the safety net. I worked 50-hour weeks at that Tulsa mall sometimes. Dealt with angry customers, impossible sales targets, corporate breathing down my neck about numbers. Came home to my one-bedroom apartment with secondhand furniture because I was too busy funding everyone else's life upgrades. But here's what really got me. It wasn't just the money they took. It was the expectation. The assumption that I'd always be there. That my money was their money. That family meant one-way generosity. When Tyler bought that boat, he didn't invite me fishing. When Melissa got her kitchen, I wasn't invited to the housewarming. When my parents showed off their renovation to relatives, nobody mentioned where the money came from. I was useful. Not valued. There's a difference. So on July 9th, standing at that Quick Trip pump in the Oklahoma heat, scratching that lottery ticket with my car key because I'd forgotten to grab a coin, when those 6 numbers lined up, my first thought wasn't celebration. It was calculation. How many of them would actually care if I had nothing to give? I was about to find out. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chen. Her office in downtown Tulsa smelled like expensive leather and old books. She'd handled lottery wins before, she told me. Knew exactly how to structure everything for maximum privacy. Don't tell anyone, she said, sliding documents across her glass desk. Not yet. Let me set up the trust first. Anonymous claim. The state allows it in Oklahoma if you do it right. I signed papers for 3 hours straight. My hand cramped. The trust was called HC Financial Holdings. Nothing that screamed lottery winner. Patricia claimed the prize for me. The news reported, anonymous Oklahoma winner claims $52 million Powerball jackpot. But nobody knew it was Harper Caldwell from Tulsa who bought that ticket at the Quick Trip on Memorial Drive. The money hit my account on August 2nd, $52,800,000 after taxes. I stared at my phone for 20 minutes, refreshing the banking app. The numbers didn't change. They just sat there bigger than anything I'd ever imagined, and I felt nothing. No joy. No relief. Just this cold, clear thought. Now I'll know. Patricia warned me about family. They'll come out of nowhere, she said. Distant cousins you forgot existed. High school friends you haven't talked to in 15 years. Everyone needs something. Everyone deserves a piece in their minds. What if I want to test them first? I asked. She looked at me over her reading glasses. Test them how? What if I pretend I'm broke? See who actually cares? Patricia set down her pen. That's cruel. Is it crueler than using someone as an ATM for years? She didn't answer that. Just said, be prepared for what you might find out. Sometimes ignorance really is bliss. I went home and planned it out. I'd tell them I lost my job at the mall, that the store was closing, corporate downsizing, and I couldn't make rent. I needed $5,000 to get through the next few months while I found something new. $5,000. A fraction of what I'd given each of them. The script wrote itself in my head. I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. You know, I've always been independent. But I helped you when you needed it, and I'm hoping you can return the favor. Seemed fair. Seemed like a reasonable test. See who'd actually show up for me when I had nothing to offer. When I was the one asking for help instead of giving it. On August 14th, 2 weeks after the money hit my account, I started making calls. Tyler first. My brother. The one with the boat. I kept my voice steady, almost breaking. The store's closing. They're laying everyone off. I don't have enough for rent this month. Silence on the other end, long enough that I thought the call dropped. Then, damn, that's rough, Harper. But Hannah's about to have the baby, and we're already stretched thin with medical bills. Can't really help right now. No, how much do you need? No, let me see what I can do. Just no. I thanked him. Hung up, stared at my phone. Then I called Melissa. Same story. Same please help me voice. Oh, Harper, that's terrible. But I literally just put everything into this kitchen remodel, and my credit cards are maxed. Maybe in a few months? A few months. When I'd need it now, I called my parents. Surely they'd help. Surely the people who raised me would show up when I needed them, Mom answered. I told her everything. Heard her sigh. Honey, you need to learn to manage money better. You've always been too loose with spending. Dad got on the line. You're 34 years old, Harper. Time to stand on your own 2 feet. My own 2 feet. The same feet that had walked into banks to wire them money. The same feet that had paced my apartment at midnight worrying about their problems. I made 7 more calls. Cousins, an aunt, family friends. Every single one had an excuse. Every single one said no. And the whole time I sat there, in my apartment, with $52 million in my account, listening to people tell me they couldn't spare $5,000. I thought that was the worst feeling I'd ever experience. I was wrong. Because one more person hadn't called me back yet. And what she was about to do would change everything. Aunt Diane called me back 3 days later. 3 days of me sitting in silence, staring at my phone, genuinely wondering if I'd gone too far with this test. If maybe I was the problem. Maybe I really was bad with money. Maybe I really did need to stand on my own feet. Her number flashed on my screen at 9:52 p.m. on August 17th. Harper, honey, I just got your message. I'm so sorry I didn't call sooner. Been dealing with parent-teacher conferences all week. And I left my phone in my classroom yesterday. Her voice was exactly what I needed. Warm, concerned, real. It's okay. Aunt Diane, I know you're busy. Tell me what's happening. So I did. Told her the same story I'd told everyone else. Lost job, can't make rent. Need help. $5,000. She was quiet for a long time. Long enough that I started to panic. Even Aunt Diane was going to say no. Even the one person in my family who'd always been kind, who'd always remembered birthdays, who'd always asked how I was doing and actually waited for the answer. I don't have $5,000, she finally said. My heart sank. But I have $2,000 in savings, and I can take out a small personal loan for the rest. It might take a few days to process, but I can get you the money by next week. Will that work? I couldn't breathe. Aunt Diane, who drove a 2008 Honda Civic with a cracked windshield and duct tape holding the passenger mirror on, who taught elementary school for 38 years and made barely $40,000 a year, who lived in a tiny rental house in Stillwater because she'd never been able to afford a mortgage, who brought her lunch to school every day in a reused grocery bag to save money. She was offering to go into debt for me. Aunt Diane, you don't have to. Your family, Harper. Real family shows up. I'm showing up. I started crying. Actually crying. Real tears. Not the fake ones I'd used when making all those other calls. I've always been so proud of you, she continued. Watching you work so hard, help everyone, never ask for anything back. You think I didn't notice? I noticed. And now you need help. And I'm not going to be like the rest of them. Like the rest of them. She knew. Aunt Diane had always known. We talked for another hour. She asked if I needed groceries, if I needed someone to come stay with me, if I needed help updating my resume. She offered everything she had, which wasn't much, except it was everything. When we finally hung up, I sat on my floor, back against the couch, and sobbed. Not the pretty kind of crying. The ugly kind. The kind where you can't catch your breath and your whole body shakes. Because in that moment, I realized what I'd actually been testing. I thought I was testing who would help me when I needed money. But what I'd really discovered was who actually loved me. Who saw me as a person instead of a resource. Who'd sacrifice for me the way I'd sacrificed for them. And out of my entire family. Parents, siblings, cousins, everyone I'd helped for years. Only one person passed, the one who could afford it least. The one who had the most to lose. The one who didn't hesitate. That night, I made a decision. I'd tell Aunt Diane the truth. I'd tell her about the lottery. And I'd make sure she never worried about money again. She'd saved me in ways that had nothing to do with dollars. As for everyone else, they were about to learn a lesson about family that I'd learned the hard way. I called Aunt Diane the next morning, asked if I could drive to Stillwater to see her. She said yes immediately, said she'd make coffee. The drive from Tulsa to Stillwater takes about 70 minutes. I practiced what I'd say the entire way. I wasn't honest with you. I need to tell you something. You're the only one who passed. Nothing. Sounded right. Her house was exactly like I remembered. Small, neat. Garden out front with tomatoes and herbs. Wind chimes on the porch that sounded like they'd been there 30 years. Probably had been. She met me at the door with a hug. You okay? You look pale. We sat in her living room. Same floral couch from when I was a kid. Same framed photos of students she'd taught over the decades. Same smell of lavender and old books. I need to tell you something, I started. And I need you to not interrupt until I'm done. Her face shifted, concerned, maybe scared. Are you sick? No, nothing like that. Just, please listen. So I told her everything. The lottery ticket. The $52 million. The trust. The test. All of it. Watched her face go from confused to shocked to something I couldn't quite read. When I finished, silence filled the room. The kind of silence that feels alive. Heavy. So you lied to me, she finally said. Yes. You lied to everyone. Yes. To test us. Yes. She stood up, walked to the kitchen. I heard water running, cabinets opening. She came back with 2 glasses of water, handed me one, sat back down. That was cruel, Harper. And that's when it hit me. Not that I'd tested them, but that the only person who passed was telling me I'd crossed a line. The one person whose opinion actually mattered was saying I'd done something cruel. I tried to explain. About the years of lending money. About the excuses. About feeling invisible unless I was useful. About wanting to know who loved me versus who used me. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't nod. Just listened with those teacher eyes that had seen through thousands of kids over the years. Your brother has a baby coming, she finally said. Your sister just put money into her house. Your parents are retired on fixed income. You gave them an emergency with no warning, no context, and expected them to drop everything. I dropped everything for them, I said, hearing how defensive I sounded. Multiple times. You did. And that was generous. But you can't buy people's love, Harper. And you can't test it like this and expect clean answers. You helped me. Because I love you. Not because I owed you. Not because you helped me before. I helped you because that's what love is. But you're about to ruin your relationships with everyone else over this. I felt something crack inside me. Some certainty I'd been holding on to. They didn't even try, I whispered. Maybe they didn't. Or maybe they're just human. Flawed. Doing their best with limited resources. She leaned forward. What are you going to do now? Tell them all? Throw this in their faces? Prove you were testing them? I don't know. Because that won't feel like justice, Harper. It'll feel like revenge. And revenge poisons you before you even drink it. We sat there for a long time, me trying not to cry. Her watching me with those teacher eyes that had seen through thousands of kids over the years. Seeing through me now? I'm still going to help you, I finally said. I'm going to pay off your house. Buy you a new car. Set up a fund. No, what? I don't want your money, Harper. But you were going to go into debt for me. That was different. That was love. If you give me money now, it stops being love. It becomes transaction, proof of who passed your test. I don't want to be your trophy of moral victory. Do you think testing family loyalty is justified when you've been used for years? Drop a like if you believe discovering the truth is worth the pain, because what came next made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. I drove back to Tulsa in silence. My phone buzzed the whole way. Text messages I didn't read. Calls I didn't answer. Because Aunt Diane had asked me a question I couldn't stop thinking about. What kind of person designs a test they know people will fail? 2 weeks passed. I didn't tell anyone about the lottery. Not even after Aunt Diane refused my help. Especially after she refused. I went back to work at the mall like nothing had changed. Smiled at customers, hit my sales targets, came home to my apartment every night and stared at that bank statement on my phone. $52,800,000. Money I couldn't spend. Money I couldn't enjoy. Because every time I thought about buying something, anything, I'd remember Tyler's voice on the phone. Can't really help right now. The text messages kept coming. Tyler sent photos of the baby ultrasound. Can't wait for you to meet your nephew. Like he hadn't just told me he was too broke to help his own sister. Melissa tagged me in Instagram stories from her new kitchen. Marble countertops. Professional-grade appliances. The caption, dreams do come true when you save up. Save up. She hadn't saved anything. She'd just refused to help me when I asked. Mom called one Tuesday evening. Wanted to know if I'd found a new job yet. If I was managing okay. You know, honey, your father and I were talking. Maybe you should look into community college. Learn a new skill. Retail management might not be viable long term. I sat there listening to my mother give me career advice while I had more money in my account than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes. Thanks, Mom. I'll think about it. We believe in you. You've always been so resourceful. Resourceful. That's what I was when I wired them $15,000 for their fake medical emergency. I started avoiding family group chats. Stopped responding to texts as quickly. Made excuses about why I couldn't come to Sunday dinners at my parents' house in Broken Arrow. Tyler noticed first. Called me on a Saturday morning. You okay? You've been distant lately. Just busy job hunting. Right. Hey, listen, about that loan you asked for, my heart jumped. Was he calling to say he'd found a way to help? I need you to sign some paperwork for me. I'm refinancing the boat, and they need a reference from family. Can you write a letter saying I'm financially responsible? I couldn't breathe. Tyler, you couldn't lend me $5,000 because you were stretched thin, but you want me to lie to a bank for you? Silence. It's not lying. I am responsible. I just hit a rough patch. You understand? No, I don't. Harper, come on. Don't be difficult about this. It's just a letter. Just a letter. Just $5,000. Just help when your sister needs it. Funny how just meant different things depending on who was asking. I can't help you right now, I said, using his exact words back to him. I'm stretched thin, I hung up, hands shaking. The apartment smelled like stale coffee and the Chinese takeout I'd forgotten to throw away. Real smells, real life. Nothing felt real anymore. That moment, holding my phone, $52 million in my account that I couldn't tell him about. I realized something. The test hadn't just revealed who they were. It had revealed who I was. Someone who set traps. Someone who watched people fail. Someone who kept score and collected evidence like ammunition. I called Aunt Diane that night. Didn't even think about whether it was too late. Harper? What's wrong? Her voice groggy but immediately concerned. I can't do this anymore. Do what? Pretend. Act like everything's normal. Go to family dinners and smile at people who see me as an ATM. She was quiet for a long time. I heard her get out of bed, close a door. Then, what do you want to do? I want to tell them. All of them. I want them to know I had $52 million and they failed the test. I want them to feel what I felt when they said no. That's revenge, Harper. Maybe I want revenge. No, you don't. You want them to see you, to value you. But making them feel guilty won't do that. It'll just make them defensive, angry. You'll lose them completely. I already lost them. I just didn't know it until I tested them. Or maybe you lost them when you decided to test them in the first place. That hit different at 11 p.m. with my apartment dark except for my phone screen. Aunt Diane. I need you to be honest with me. Would you have helped if I'd actually needed it? If there was no lottery, no test, just real desperation? Yes, why? You have less than everyone else. Less money, less security, less everything. Why were you the only one? She sighed. Not frustrated, just sad. Because I know what it's like to need help and not get it. When your uncle left me 15 years ago, I couldn't afford my mortgage. Asked your parents, asked siblings, asked everyone. Nobody helped. I lost the house. Had to move into that rental in Stillwater. I didn't know that. Never knew that. I swore then I'd never be that person. The one who could help but didn't. So when you called, I didn't even think. I just knew I had to show up. And there it was. The difference. Aunt Diane had learned empathy from suffering. The rest of my family? They'd learned justification. What do I do now? I asked. You decide if you want a family or if you want to be right. We talked for another hour. About pain. About forgiveness. About whether love means never having to pass tests. She didn't tell me what to do. Just asked questions that made me think. When we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. Stared at my phone. At their texts in the family group chat. At photos of Tyler's baby shower. Melissa's kitchen renovation posts. My parents' anniversary dinner at some expensive restaurant in Tulsa. They were living their lives. Completely unaware I was sitting on a fortune, dissecting their every word for evidence of their failures. 2 days later, I made a decision. I'd tell them about the lottery. Not to punish them. Not to prove I'd tested them. But to see what they'd do when they knew. When the money was real and available and right there, would they apologize for not helping? Would they ask for some now? Would they pretend they'd always been supportive? I couldn't control how they'd react. But I could control whether I stayed silent or spoke my truth. I sent a text to the family group chat. Family dinner at my place this Sunday. 6 p.m. Important announcement. Everyone needs to be there, Tyler responded first. Everything okay? Then Melissa. Ooh, are you engaged? Mom, we'll be there, honey. I stared at Melissa's message. Engaged. That's what she thought this was about. Some happy announcement. Some moment she could Instagram. About being such a supportive sister, I turned off my phone. Because I had 4 days to figure out exactly what I was going to say. To the people who'd taught me that family is conditional. That love has a price. That when it really matters, you're on your own. 4 days to decide if I wanted to forgive them or destroy them, and I still didn't know which one I wanted more. Sunday came faster than I wanted. I spent Saturday cleaning my apartment like that would somehow make the conversation easier. Bought food I didn't want to cook. Set the table for 7 people. Me, Tyler and Hannah, Melissa, Mom and Dad, Aunt Diane. I'd invited Aunt Diane last. Asked if she'd come. Told her I needed someone there who actually knew the truth. She'd agreed, but her voice had this weight to it. Like she knew this dinner could destroy everything. 6 p.m. They started arriving. Tyler and Hannah first, her pregnant belly huge now. She hugged me, said I looked thin, asked if I was eating enough. Real concern in her voice. It made everything worse. Melissa showed up with a bottle of wine and that smile she always had. The one that said life was working out exactly how she planned. So what's the big news? You're killing me with the suspense. Mom and Dad arrived last, Dad carrying flowers like this was some celebration. Our Harper, always so dramatic with the announcements. He was smiling, proud almost. They all thought this was good news. We sat down. Made small talk. Hannah showed me ultrasound photos. Melissa talked about her new kitchen island. Mom asked when I'd hear back from job applications. Normal. It all felt so horrifyingly normal. Aunt Diane arrived at 6:30, apologizing for being late. Grading papers ran over. She sat next to me, squeezed my hand once. Silent support. Or silent warning. Maybe both. Okay, Tyler finally said. You gathered everyone here. What's going on? I looked around the table. At their faces, expectant, curious, some worried. None of them knowing what was coming. And I realized something in that moment. Something that made my hands go cold and my stomach turn. I'd become my own villain, not because I'd tested them, but because some twisted part of me had enjoyed it. Had enjoyed watching them fail. Had enjoyed collecting evidence of their selfishness like I was building a case for prosecution. Had enjoyed this moment right now, holding information that would devastate them, knowing I had all the power. That's what scared me. Not that I'd done the test, but that I'd liked it. That there was something dark inside me that fed on their failures. That got satisfaction from proving I was right, and they were wrong. I'd spent weeks telling myself this was about discovering the truth, about protecting myself, about finally knowing who really loved me. But sitting there, looking at their faces, I realized it was also about punishment, about making them feel small the way they'd made me feel small, about having power over people who'd had power over me for so long. And that realization? It felt poisonous. I won the lottery, I said quietly. Silence. Then, what? 3 months ago. $52 million. I won and I didn't tell anyone. The table erupted. Questions, excitement, disbelief. Hannah started crying, happy tears. Melissa grabbed my arm. Oh my God, Harper. Mom and Dad looked stunned, then thrilled. Only Aunt Diane stayed silent. Watching me. Knowing there was more. Knowing what was coming. There's something else, I said. The room quieted. A few weeks ago, I told you all I lost my job. That I needed $5,000. That I was struggling. None of that was true. I lied. I tested you. I wanted to see who'd help me when I had nothing. You could hear the air conditioning humming. That's how quiet it got. What? Tyler's voice. Flat, I tested you. All of you. And only Aunt Diane passed. Melissa stood up. You're joking. I'm not. You made up that whole story? You lied to us just to what? Prove some point? To find out who actually cares about me. That's insane. Tyler's face was red. You manipulated us. You created a fake emergency to test us. The way you all created fake emergencies to get money from me for years. That landed. Hard. Dad shook his head. Harper, we didn't. $15,000 for a medical emergency that was actually a kitchen remodel, Dad. Don't. Mom's face went white. I watched them. All of them. Watched the realization hit. Watched the defensiveness rise. Watched them prepare their justifications. And I didn't feel victorious. I felt sick because Aunt Diane was right. I'd set a trap. And now I was standing in the middle of the wreckage, holding a fortune I couldn't enjoy and a family I'd just destroyed. What kind of person does that? What kind of person enjoys doing that? Melissa left first. Didn't even finish her wine. Just stood up, grabbed her purse, looked at me like I was a stranger. You're sick. You need therapy. Tyler and Hannah lasted 5 more minutes. Hannah crying, not happy tears anymore. Tyler wouldn't look at me. Just said, "Don't contact us," and walked out. Mom sat frozen. Tears running down her face. Not dramatic sobbing. Just silent tears. Like she was watching something die. Dad tried to salvage it. Harper, I understand you're hurt, but this isn't how family shows up when you need them. That's what you always said. Where were you? We're on a fixed income. You know that. We couldn't just... You remodeled your kitchen with my money. He had no answer for that. They left. Mom kissed my forehead on the way out. Whispered, I'm sorry. But I didn't know what she was apologizing for. For the lie? For leaving? For not helping when I asked? Then it was just me and Aunt Diane at a table set for 7, with plates of food nobody had touched. Silence for a long time. Not the comfortable kind. The heavy kind that presses on your chest. You got what you wanted, Aunt Diane finally said. What? You proved they're selfish. You exposed them. You won. So now what? I don't... You gonna live alone in this apartment with your millions? Check your bank account every night and tell yourself you were right? Because you were right, Harper. They failed you. But being right doesn't keep you warm at night. I started crying. Not the angry kind. The broken kind. I wanted them to see me, I said. To value me. To say they were sorry for taking me for granted. And they might have. Eventually. If you'd talked to them instead of trapping them. If you'd told them how you felt instead of testing them. They wouldn't have listened. Maybe not. But now you'll never know. Because you chose revenge over reconciliation. I didn't want revenge. Didn't you? She leaned forward. You set up that dinner like an execution. Invited everyone so they could watch each other fail. That wasn't about truth. That was about punishment. I couldn't argue with that. Because she was right? What do I do now? I whispered. Aunt Diane stood up. Started clearing plates. You decide if being right is worth being alone. And if it's not, you reach out. Not with money. Not with tests. With honesty. Tell them you were hurt. Tell them you felt invisible. Tell them you're sorry for how you handled it. But I'm not sorry for the test. Then tell them that too. Tell them everything. The whole messy truth. And let them decide if they want to try again. She stayed that night. Made tea. Sat with me on the couch while I cried. Didn't try to fix it. Just stayed. At midnight, she handed me a notepad. Write letters. To each of them by hand. Tell them what you needed to say at that dinner but couldn't because you were too angry. What if they don't respond? Then you know. But at least you tried. At least you gave them a chance to choose you back. The next 3 weeks were quiet. No texts in the family group chat. No calls. No Instagram tags. Nothing. Tyler had his baby. I found out from a mutual friend's Facebook post. A boy. They named him James. I wasn't invited to meet him. Melissa blocked me on social media. All of it. Instagram, Facebook, everything. Like I died, my parents called once. Mom said they needed time. That what I'd done was a betrayal of trust. The irony wasn't lost on me. Aunt Diane checked in every few days. Never pushy. Just thinking of you, Tex. Once she showed up with groceries. Said she noticed I hadn't been eating right. She was right about that. I sat down at my kitchen table one Saturday morning and wrote the letters. Not emails, not texts. Actual letters, by hand. On paper, Aunt Diane had brought me to Tyler. I'm sorry. Not for the test. Not for being angry, but for the ambush. For making this about proving a point instead of healing a wound. You weren't perfect. But neither was I. I gave you $12,000 and never asked for it back. But I never told you how that made me feel either. Like I was only valuable when I was useful. If you're willing to talk, I'm here. To Melissa. To my parents. Different words. Same message. I drove to Broken Arrow. Left the letter in my parents' mailbox. Drove to Norman. Left Tyler's letter in his mailbox. Drove to Edmond. Left Melissa's letter in hers. Then I drove home and waited. 1 week passed. Nothing. 2 weeks. Nothing. 3 weeks. My phone buzzed. Tyler. Coffee? Just us. No Hannah. No ambush. I stared at that text for 20 minutes, then typed, Yes. You think you know how this ends. That I crawled back begging for forgiveness. That the money couldn't buy happiness. That I learned some precious lesson about family being everything. That's not what happened. Tyler and I met at a coffee shop in Tulsa 6 weeks after that dinner. He looked exhausted. New dad exhausted. But he came. I can't forgive you yet, he said. Maybe not ever. But I get why you did it. Do you? You wanted to know who'd show up when you had nothing. And we didn't. None of us did except Aunt Diane. And you were right. I took $12,000 from you and never paid you back. Never even thanked you properly. Then couldn't spare $5,000 when you asked. That's on me, not an excuse. Not a justification. Just acknowledgement, finally. I want to meet James, I said. Tyler nodded. Next month. Small steps, Melissa texted 3 days later. I'm not ready yet, but I'm not blocking you forever. My parents came to my apartment a week after that. We sat where the dinner had happened, where I'd exposed them all. We should have helped you, Mom said. Even if we couldn't give $5,000, we should have offered something. And we shouldn't have lied about the medical emergency, Dad added. That was wrong. I told you it was for surgery, then used it for the kitchen. I was ashamed to ask for help with something that wasn't urgent. $31,000, I said quietly. That's what I gave you all over the years. 12 to Tyler, 8 to Melissa, 15 to you. Not one thank you, not one acknowledgement. Until I had nothing to give, I was invisible. Dad's face went white. 31,000? You never kept track? I asked. We thought family doesn't keep score. Family doesn't keep score when both sides are giving. But only I was giving. For years, silence. Mom reached across the table, touched my hand. We took you for granted, we did. And I'm sorry. I didn't forgive them right there. Didn't hug and cry. Just said, I know. Because here's what I learned from that test. I wasn't wrong to do it. They failed, objectively. When I needed $5,000, people I'd given $31,000 to couldn't help. That's not debatable. That's fact. But Aunt Diane was also right. I set them up to fail. Created an emergency with no context, no warning, expected them to drop everything. Was it fair? Maybe not. Was it necessary? Absolutely. Because I'd spent years being the family ATM and nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Until I had nothing to give, and suddenly I was invisible. The test didn't destroy my family. It revealed what was already broken. 6 months later, I'm writing this from Aunt Diane's new house. The one I bought her, mortgage-free, new car in the driveway, savings account that'll last her the rest of her life. She cried when I told her she'd never worry about money again. Tried to refuse again. I told her this wasn't about the test. This was about the woman who offered $2,000 she didn't have to someone she loved. Who went into debt before I could stop her. Who showed up when nobody else did. Tyler and I have coffee every other week now. I met James, held him. He has Tyler's eyes. Our family's eyes. Tyler won't take money from me, but he let me set up a college fund for James. $50,000. Not a loan, a gift. For when he's older. So he never has to choose between helping family and taking care of himself. Melissa still won't talk to me. Maybe she never will. I've accepted that. Some people can't handle being exposed, even when they're wrong. My parents? We have dinner once a month, polite, careful. They paid me back the $15,000. I didn't ask for it. Dad just showed up one day with a check. It's not everything we owe you, but it's a start. I didn't cash it for a month. Then I did. Not because I needed it, but because he needed to give it. I've given away $15 million to charity. Scholarships for teachers like Aunt Diane. Funds for people who show up when nobody else does. The kind of people who'd go into debt for family. The rest? Growing, compounding, waiting. Do I regret the test? No. Do I regret the ambush dinner? Maybe. Could I have handled it better? Probably. But would they have listened without the shock? Would they have actually seen what they'd done without being forced to look? I don't think so. People say money changes you. They're wrong. Money reveals who you were all along. It revealed my family saw me as an ATM. And it revealed that I was willing to blow everything up to prove a point. We're both right. We're both wrong. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. Do you think testing your family's loyalty is ever justified, even if it hurts them? Subscribe if you believe that sometimes the only way to fix what's broken is to break it completely first. Because I learned that the expensive way, I won $52 million. Lost some relationships, saved others, discovered who actually loved me, and learned that being right and being alone aren't mutually exclusive. Sometimes you can be both, and sometimes that's enough. Aunt Diane told me last week, you didn't destroy your family, Harper. You just stopped pretending it was something it wasn't. She's right. Like she always is. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust my family again, or if they'll fully trust me. But I know this. I'm not their ATM anymore. I'm not their backup plan. I'm not their second choice. I'm not the woman who lent $31,000 and never saw gratitude. I'm the woman who won the lottery and discovered the truth, and I'm still standing. With $52 million, a new house for the one person who deserved it, and a family that finally knows I'm not someone you use. I'm someone you respect, or you lose, and that's worth more than all the money in the world.